Yasoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Brahmachari Jamuna Tira Brahmachari Jaya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Buddha Bihari Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Together, please. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Hirayat Nasta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading this morning from chapter 5 of the third canto, text 39 to the end of the chapter. Before we read these verses, I just want to back up a bit from Friday's spontaneous class by Advaita Prabhu. So the topic was creation on Friday, and creation comes up again and again in Bhagavatam. Generally, it's a subject that our eyes kind of glaze over because it's rather technical. And yet I was appreciating, like the biblical description of creation is what? Yeah, in the beginning, God created, it's, pretty general. So the Bhagavatam goes into this great detail and repeatedly, many sections in the Bhagavatam. So Maitreya, in this connection, Maitreya and Vidura are just beginning their conversation. First thing is creation, right out the gate. Well, let's talk about creation. Why? Because that contextualizes our cosmic consciousness. It helps us understand our position in creation. Okay, so we read on Friday about the detailed unfolding of the elements. Science calculates about how many elements? Anyone remember? Something like 150 in the periodic table, right?
Like 190.
190, it's increasing. Yeah, and some of these elements only exist for a few moments in an electron microscope. Bhagavatam has 5 gross elements: earth, water, air, fire, and ether, the most subtle. But those 5, basically these 190 come out of those 5. And that's just the beginning of the Vedic description, right? So the gross elements are there, and then the 10 senses, 5 knowledge acquiring, 5 working, and then the subtle elements, mind, intelligence, false ego, and then the objects of the senses, sound, taste, etc., and time. And so they comprise 24 elements, but it's, you see, so much more comprehensive. So the Bhagavatam's description of creation goes through all of these ornate steps, and then in the discussion, Friday, Maitreya says, okay, here are all the elements. Now, who's in charge of them? And then he says, the demigods are created by Krishna to be in charge of each of these elements. And now the demigods come together and they're saying these prayers. Okay, so this is where we're at in the exciting unfolding drama of chapter 3. All right, ready? So here are the prayers by the demigods, and let's go ladies' side, men's side. Everyone take a turn reading, please. And please let's see if we can read without an interruption while we're trying to figure out the mic. Kira, why don't you start?
The demigod said, O Lord, your lotus feet are like an umbrella for the surrendered souls, protecting them from all the miseries of material existence. All the sages under that shelter throw off all material miseries. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet.
O Father, O Lord, O personality of Godhead, the living entities in the material world can never have any happiness because they are overwhelmed by the three kinds of miseries. Therefore, they take shelter of the shade of your lotus feet, which are full of knowledge. And we also thus take shelter of them.
These next several prayers are all about the lotus feet of Krishna. Brenda, hi. Welcome.
The lotus feet of the Lord are by themselves the shelter of all places of pilgrimage. The great clear-minded sages, carried by the wings of the Vedas, always search for their nest of your lotus-like face. Some of them surrender to your lotus feet at every step by taking shelter of the best of rivers, the Ganges, which can deliver one from all sinful reactions.
Simply by hearing about your lotus feet with eagerness and devotion, and by meditating upon them within the heart, one at once becomes enlightened with knowledge, and on the strength of detachment, one becomes pacified. We must therefore take shelter of the sanctuary, your lotus feet.
Oh Lord, you assume incarnations for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation, and therefore we all take shelter of your lotus feet, because they always award remembrance and courage to your devotees.
O Lord, persons who are entangled by undesirable eagerness for the temporary body and kingsmen, and who are bound by the thoughts of mind and eye, are unable to see your lotus feet, although your lotus feet are situated within our own bodies. But let us take shelter of your lotus feet.
Wow.
O great supreme Lord, offensive persons whose internal vision has been too affected by external materialistic activities cannot see your lotus feet, but they are seen by your pure devotees, whose one and only aim is to transcendentally enjoy your activities.
O Lord, persons who, because of their serious attitudes, attain the stage of enlightened devotional service, achieve the complete meaning of renunciation and knowledge, and attain Vaikuntha Loka in the spiritual sky, simply by drinking the nectar of your topics.
By means of transcendental self-position and have command over the modes of nature by their strong power and knowledge, also enter into you. But for them, there's much pain, whereas the
Devotees simply discharges devotional service and thus feels no such pain.
No such pain.
O original person, we are therefore but yours only. Although we are your creatures, we are born one after another under the influence of the three modes of nature, and for this reason we are separated in action. Therefore, after their creation, we could not act concertedly for your transcendental pleasure.
O unborn one, please enlighten us regarding the ways and means by which we can offer you all enjoyable grains and commodities, so that both we and all other living entities in this world can maintain ourselves without disturbance. It can easily accumulate the necessities of life
life both for you and for ourselves.
You are the original personal founder of all the demigods and the orders of different gradations, yet you are the oldest and are unchanged. O Lord, you have no source or superior. You have impregnated the external energy with the semen of the total living entities, yet you are unborn.
O Supreme Self, please give us who are created in the beginning from the Mahatattva, the total cosmic energy, your kind directions on how we shall act. Kindly award us your perfect knowledge and potency so that we can render your service. So that we can render you service in the different departments of subsequent creation.
Thank you very much. Okay, and that's the end of chapter 5. Back to text 42. And while we're going back there was once a lady who was attending Bhagavatam classes by a great sadhu. And she said after the class one day, Maharaj, I hear your classes, but I can't seem to remember anything. What should I do? And he said, bring me a basket of Ganga water tomorrow and I will tell you. And she said, a basket of water? Baskets don't hold. Just bring me a basket of Ganga water tomorrow and I'll tell you. So the next day she came and she had the basket. She said, Maharaj, I went to the river, I tried, but it wouldn't hold any water. And he said, yes, but now your basket is clean. So we hear the class, we may or may not understand everything. Just by hearing, the very process of hearing it is purifying. Okay, so Nasta Prayeshu Bhadreshu, right? All the troublesome things are removed by Bhagavatam. So text 42. Yachstradhaya Shrutavatya Chabhaktya Yachstradhaya Shrutavatya Chabhaktya Samrijyamane Hridaye Vadhaya Jnanena Vairagya Balena Tira Rajema Tatengriha Sarojapitam Rajema Tatengri Sarojapitam Yachstradhaya Shrutavatya Chabhaktya Samrijyamane Hridaye Vadhaya Jnanena Vairagya Balena Tira Rajema Tatengri Sarojapitam. Please chant. Yachstradhaya Shrutavatya Chabhaktya Samrijyamane Hridaye Vadhaya Jnanena Vairagya Balena Dhira Bhajendra Tatengri Sarojapitam. Yachstradhaya Shrutavatya Chabhaktya Samrijyamane Hridaye Vadhaya Jnanena Vairagya Balena Dhira Rajema Tatengri Sarojapitam. Anyone else? That third line. Let's see how many words in the third line we know. What is jnanena referring to? What? Say it loud. Knowledge. Vairagya. Renunciation. Balena. Strength. And dhira. What? Prescience. Dhira means what? Like dhira satyranamuyati in the Bhagavad Gita. What is a dhira?
Sober.
Sober, yes, undisturbed. Person is undisturbed by the strength of jnana and vairagya, by knowledge and renunciation. Okay, so synonyms together. Yat, that which, shraddhaya, by eagerness, shruta bhaktya, simply by hearing, cha, also bhaktya, in devotion. Shruta, dhira, the pacified, rajema, must go to, tat, that they, your hungry feet, saroja pitam, lotus, sanctuary, and translation together. Simply by hearing about your lotus feet with eagerness and devotion, and by meditating upon them within the heart, one at once becomes enlightened with knowledge, and on the strength of detachment, one becomes pacified. We must therefore take shelter of the sanctuary of your lotus feet. I'm going to do something a little different today. I want to read, kind of unpack the purport line by line, one of my godbrothers, Harvilas, likes to do, because every line in them is so full of meaning. So this prayer is one of several that describe Krishna's lotus feet, or talk about the demigods taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Why the feet? Why all this foot fetish? Why we focus on the feet? What's the reason? Really?
Because it's the lowest part and the way to pay respect.
Very good. Yes, we start at the bottom and work our way up. In India, it's very common for people to want to touch the feet of sadhus. They want to touch their feet because by touching the feet of a saintly person, all of one's sins are transferred. So, right, isn't it? The people are very eager to touch the feet, get the blessings, and also transfer the sins. The karma. So once Srila Prabhupada was, this is an incident that is relevant to this purport. Prabhupada was with a group of devotees. They were doing big pandals in India. Tens of thousands of people would come to these events when Prabhupada would speak. And so after he spoke, and he was walking through the crowd, and he was surrounded by a little knot of his disciples, but hundreds and hundreds of people were trying to touch his feet. And devotees had to try to just kind of keep them back. They all wanted to touch his feet. And then when they left the pandal, Prabhupada turned to his disciples and said, "They want to touch my feet because I am free of sex desire." So, this purport, the miracles of meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord with eagerness and devotion are so great that no other process can compare to it. The miracle of meditating on Krishna's lotus feet. We read fairy tales about the princess who is somehow reduced to being a scullery maid, and she's working her fingers to the bone, and she's deprived of her kingdom, and she's mistreated by her stepmother and sisters, and then the Prince Charming comes and rescues her from this situation. She's very kind-hearted to all the animals and the dwarves and everything. Then the prince comes and rescues her. It's a miracle. And by this miracle, then she gets all the material opulences. But those miracles fade away. So this is why meditating on Krishna's feet is even more miraculous than trying to enjoy this material world, because that never fades away, that miracle. There was a cartoon I saw once. It's a strategic planning meeting. All these executives are coming together, and the executives writing up on the board. First, we'll do this, then we'll do this, then we'll do this, and then a miracle will occur. So we don't count on miracles. This is the point. And yet, meditating on Krishna's feet, which the verse said are in us, are in our bodies. The miracle, this transformative miracle occurs, so much more lasting than anything we might gain in the material world or just gaining knowledge, even spiritual knowledge. The minds of materialistic persons are so disturbed that it is almost impossible for them to search after the supreme truth by personal regulative endeavors. Personal regulative endeavors would mean like doing yoga, doing austerities, controlling our minds or our lives by some external means, by some self-improvement. But the mind is so disturbed that all of these things don't succeed in calming the mind. I don't suppose anyone besides me has ever experienced a disturbed mind during japa. Oh, okay, well, you're all, but for me, from time to time, this happens. And so when that happens, we have no choice but to chant louder than the mind, as Prabhupada put it. Just to tolerate the disturbances of the mind. And that is the beauty of the bhakti process, because it gives us some meaning and some purpose. Trying to please Krishna. But even such materialistic men with little eagerness for hearing about the transcendental name, fame, qualities, etc., can surpass all other methods of attaining knowledge and detachment. So there's a verse on this point in the first canto, second chapter. Many of our scholars know what I'm referring to. I think it's 127, if you want to put it up. Yeah, this is a very important verse. That just by serving Krishna, causeless what up here? Two things. Anyone remember? Just by trying to please Krishna, two things appear causelessly. Knowledge and detachment, right, which we just read about in this verse. By rendering devotional service to Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from this world. People pursue knowledge at the university or in their own spiritual quest. People pursue detachment because it's beneficial. You lose weight, or you get muscles, or you get self-control. But these things happen automatically when one serves Krishna. This is the point. Okay? The conditioned soul is attached to the bodily conception of the self, and therefore he is in ignorance. Culture of self-knowledge can bring about detachment from material affection, and without such detachment, there is no meaning to knowledge. Our dear academic friends in the university can be very, very learned in their field. But if their character is weak for alcohol, for affairs, for you name it, there's no repercussions. If they're cheating the system in some way or other, there's no repercussions because they have the knowledge necessary to teach students how to make money in a particular field. So there's no measure of character, but actual knowledge manifests, actual character manifests through the process of dedicating our energies towards our Creator in bhakti. This is the point. They're not a goal in themselves, they're a byproduct. Now here comes the heavy part. The most stubborn attachment for material enjoyment is sex life. One who is attached to sex life is to be understood as devoid of knowledge. Knowledge must be followed by detachment. That is the way of self-realization. These two essentials for self-realization, knowledge and detachment, become manifest very quickly if one performs devotional service to the lotus feet of the Lord. So we were talking about the creation of the universe. And by the way, there's 10 subjects of Srimad Bhagavatam, but the first two have to deal with creation. Advaita Prabhu mentioned them on Friday. There's Sarga and Visarga. So Sarga means creation of the gross elements, earth, water, air, etc. They're just like in their own category, they're created. And then there's Visarga, the secondary creation, where all those ingredients are put together into the planets and the bodies, etc., etc. That's the business of Lord Brahma. So Sarga, Visarga. So the Bhagavatam explains this. The Bible explains in a general way, God created everything. But what the Bhagavatam explains that we don't find elsewhere is why it was created. Even science is going more and more in detail, how it was created, the Big Bang, et cetera, et cetera. But why was it created? Oh, that's not our problem. Why does it exist? Beats me. We're just going to figure out what happened. It's like in crime scene investigations, they say the detectives came in, investigate everything. Okay, yep, there was a murder here, and they used this weapon. Okay, our business is finished. We're not going to find out who did it. We're not going to find out why they did it. Just there it is. Not a very thorough investigation, right? So similarly, to study creation but not understand its purpose is quite incomplete. So the Bhagavatam, or in this purport, Prabhupada is expressing that we are in this creation to perform devotional service to Krishna. That is our purpose as living beings. And the good qualities of knowledge and detachment manifest. Just to claim knowledge or detachment without devotional service is therefore incomplete. Same thing. Okay, any questions on this much? Let's continue then. The word dhira is very significant in this connection. A person who is not disturbed, even in the presence of the cause of disturbance, is called dhira. Sri Jamunacharya says, since my heart has been overwhelmed by the devotional service of Lord Krishna, I cannot even think of sex life. And if thoughts of sex come upon me, I at once feel disgust. A devotee of the Lord becomes an elevated dhira simply by the simple process of meditating in eagerness on the lotus feet of the Lord. Before you ask a question, I just want to finish that thought. The purpose of creation is to return to devotional service, but Lord Brahma has the business of filling up the creation, and for that he needs the help of all the living entities. Therefore, everyone is covered by this sex desire to help populate the universe. See, we have this innate biological drive to preserve and perpetuate our genes. For what reason? God only knows. But we all have that powerful urge to do this. And if by chance we do that, we find out, oh, it's often very disappointing. But this is the genesis of sex desire. The purpose of sex desire is to fill up the universe, and it thus entangles us further in this creation. Okay. John Nrsimha Prabhu, what was your question?
Yeah, back on devotional service, the benefits that it brings, causeless knowledge, and I guess causeless detachment.
Yes.
What does causeless knowledge look like? Like, what's an example of that? And how do we know that we, like, is it like eureka and you get a light bulb
Yeah,
over your head?
Yes, it is, although it comes in relationship with other devotees typically. In our relationships, we begin to experience the manifestation of good qualities. Like we might hear about humility, and then we might hear and we might learn that service is our dharma, So we apply humility, we serve devotees, and then the eureka moment is, hey, this is nice. All these things that I was wrapped up in my head about suddenly just evaporated. And just by serving the devotees. Mahat sevam dwaram ahur vimuktes. The Bhagavatam says in the 5th canto that by serving the Mahat, the great souls, the door to liberation is open. So that kind of knowledge becomes manifest through bhakti. Okay? It's realization. In the Gita, Krishna says, Rajavidya Rajaguyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyak Sarvagamam Dharmyam Shushukam Kartamavayam. Pratyaksha means direct experience. So Krishna says that the process of bhakti gives us direct experience by realization. And therefore, Shushukam Kartam Avyam is joyfully performed. So the knowledge enters the heart by realization. We get the knowledge in the class by reading, and then we get the realization by applying. And remember, this comes from Krishna. He says in the Gita for those who render service to me, I give them the intelligence by which they can come to me. That's sort of the deal. Okay, Krishna, I'll serve you, and then I'm depending on you for intelligence. Just like the demigods are saying here. They're glorifying Krishna, and at the end they say, hey, we're big shots, but we don't know what to do. Please instruct us. Okay, good. Yes, Narada Rishi Prabhu, I'd like to.
In the process,
Please.
in the process of creation, when Lord Brahma instructed, produce progeny.
Yes.
That's what Prabhupada has mentioned.
Yes.
And some of them they refuse, such as Narada Muni, four Kumaras, because you are talking about this,
too much entanglement.
Yes. What about them?
Yes, very good. That's when he's just starting out to fill up the universe in the Visarga phase.
Right.
Brahma he mentally creates 4 sons,
Right.
and he's counting on them to go and procreate. And they say, actually, we think we'd like to stay brahmachari. And he got so angry that an anger personified Rudra comes out of his forehead. That's Shiva. So this is the tension in the Bhagavatam. Sometimes the sadhus are being approached. Please procreate, procreate. The whole Bhagavatam is largely about procreation, is filling up the universe. At least the early cantos have a lot to do with that. But sometimes they refuse. Like Narada says, no, thank you. Right? Narada Rishi and Narada Muni. And also the other sons of Daksha.
Yeah.
The son Daksha was an expert progenitor. He had thousands of sons. And Narada comes and says, you don't really want to get married. And then boom. Daksha was very upset. So this Prabhupada quotes the verse here by Jamunacharya, this great sage from South India. Since I've been performing bhakti, whenever I think of sex life, my lips curl in distaste and I spit. Generally, the conditioned soul hears about sex life and lips curl into a smile. But he's spitting because it actually is just a gross, crude animal activity. One sewer pipe emptying into another sewer pipe. But it's romanticized, and that's because it's such, in the material world, it's such a big deal, because it's the highest pleasure in the material world. My godbrother Charu used to sell books with this line. He'd approach people and say, hey, sex life is the highest pleasure in the material world. Wouldn't you agree? Oh yeah, definitely. Here, read about it. So it's not surprising that we have sex desire, nor is it necessarily a bad thing. In the 7th chapter of the Gita, Krishna says, Kamosmi Bharatarshava, I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. That's all. What does that mean? It means staying within the boundaries of marriage. It means minimizing. Okay, minimizing even up to the point of having sex only for procreation. That's it. Not for recreation, only procreation. And that is dhira, that is a person who is controlled, even in the presence of temptation. It's hard, so hard in these days because pornography is just so rampant. And it was so different when people my age were going through adolescence. This was accessible only through great endeavor, but now it's in everybody's phone, in their pocket. And so the addiction that comes, we'll read elsewhere in the Bhagavatam about why sex is so pleasurable. Because, in fact, it's such a gross act and it's ultimately so troublesome. Nobody would do it unless there was some pleasure-coating substance on the genitals. This is part of the plot. The genitals give some pleasure, and therefore people go after it, so that there can be procreation. Okay? So in our Krishna conscious advancement, we don't have to renounce sex life, we just have to control sex life. And we don't have to, but we also don't have to worship sex life like this is the goal of my life. You know, it's just a bodily function. And we may do it or not do it, but when, oh yeah, I was gonna mention about pornography. It releases, this pleasure-giving substance releases like something like OxyContin or some serotonin in the brain, some kind of, what's that? Dopamine, that's it, yeah. Dope. Yeah, we put the dope and dopamine with pornography, right? So the dopamine comes out and it's so pleasurable that one wants to experience it again and again. But by this abuse of the physical being, the amount of dopamine needed to get a buzz just goes up and up to the point where when one is completely perverted in one's idea of this function, this bodily function. So this is why sex life is such heavy energy. This is why marriage is such a sacred samskara, a point in life. Okay, now I'm in this ashram, one of the 4 ashrams where sex is allowed. So it is something to be treated with great caution and respect. Because it is sacred if done properly. So dhira means that we through knowledge we get realization. Okay, at the time that yes, sex life will be the right time and place for the right purpose. It doesn't have to be right now. So I will just tolerate this sex urge until the appropriate time. This is what it means to be dhira, practically. Okay, there's one more paragraph. Any discussion though? Let's finish this paragraph and then we'll discuss. Devotional service entails being initiated by a bona fide spiritual master and following his instructions in regard to hearing about the Lord. Such a bona fide spiritual master is accepted by regularly hearing from him about the Lord. The improvement of knowledge and detachment can be perceived by devotees as an actual experience. It's not just theoretical. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu strongly recommended the process of hearing from a bona fide devotee, and by following this process, one can achieve the highest result, conquering all other methods. When Prabhupada talks about other methods of self-realization, it's kind of murky how it's related to us in the West, because the goal of self-realization is not very prominent on people's minds. But in India and Nepal, these more pious traditional countries, people have a value for renunciation and detachment and self-control. It's innate in the tradition. You know, yogis who can go and just meditate are respected. So when we talk about austerity or renunciation in the West, people generally like, huh? You know, yeah, right. Exactly. Prabhupada spoke with amusement about the hippies. Hippies are sort of renounced. Right? They're kind of renouncing the ordinary course of things. But he said they cannot renounce sex life. So therefore their detachment is incomplete. All right, any questions, comments, discussion on these subjects? Rishi Prabhu, please.
If you remember the 3rd canto about Devhuti and Kardam Muni, Prabhupada has so detailedly elaborating about the sex life. I was giving class in Los Angeles in last May. So I saw the book, someone has every line he has underlined about the detail, how Prabhupada has explained about the sex life. So I was shocked. Devhuti, when she had 9 daughters and 9 ways she was satisfied. It is explained in the scripture, Ashtanga Yogi, they have 8-fold eightfold energy. But Garda Muni was exception. He had a 9 with he satisfied to Devahoti. So 9 daughters, they're equally beautiful. And then just they came out. Then he wanted to renounce. Then Devahoti said that please give me one son who could take care of me, because daughters will find their husbands. They will go to their respective houses. But
thank you. Good. Yes, that's a very. Who saw Maha Avatar Nrsimha? Yeah. That's where it begins, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next, other comments, questions? How does it sit with you, this idea? Like, people think that devotees are rather crazy. You know, sex life, what this is like, that's the whole purpose. I remember I asked Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, we were both brahmacharis. I was a high school, just got out of high school. He was a college grad. I said, what is college like? He said, ultimately, it's all about sex life. He was Ivy League graduate. That's probably.
How do we think about people thinking that we're not normal?
Yeah.
The culture of normalcy is relative. And I remember in New York during the Rath Yatra, there was a police officer who approached Advaita Maharaj as he saw Rath Yatra coming down the Fifth Avenue. And he made a remark. He said, "Oh, here comes Hare Krishnas. They give up on all the fun in life." and then he started, counting, no this, no that. But then Maharaj intercepted him. He said, no. We only give up on one thing, suffering.
Very good. Yes. Prabhupada said, you're trying to enjoy, you don't know how to enjoy. All we're asking you to give up is your suffering. Yes.
Krishna. So my conspiracy is that a lot of people just don't believe in the reality of like pleasure that's more than sex.
Yes.
And so my question is, and I've heard that, like imagine like every cell of your body just full of ecstasy. Like can you expound on like something to look forward to as far as pleasure?
Yes. Yes. In the beginning stages of our bhakti, we experience pleasure in little doses. There is often a special introductory offer that when we first take it up, there's so much joy that we become just like instant pure devotees. So I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. No problem. And then when we progress a little further, we realize that, hey, we still have a lot of conditioning. So that pleasure that is superior to sex life comes initially, we can experience in the kirtan. We start getting realizations which are so much more pleasurable because they're comprehensive and they are self-contained, right? We don't need a partner. We don't need anything external. Just within ourselves, we feel satisfied and happy and joyous. So that's the reason why spiritual pleasure surpasses sex pleasure, because it's entirely within and it's constructive, right? In the material pleasures, there's always you have to expend energy, and therefore afterwards we feel drained, right? Whatever it is. But in spiritual pleasure, it just is anandam buddhi varnam, it never increases. Have you experienced some spiritual pleasure in your month here in the ashram, boy?
Yeah.
You're serving halava. Yeah.
It's been nice.
It's so simple, and yet it's so joyful. It keeps getting better with time. And those realizations deepen and they become more kind of comprehensive. Well, I can live my life in this way. Yes, anyone else? Did you have a question, Pradeep? No? Okay. Anyone else? Ladies' side, all the men are. Okay, Kunti.
A little bit of thoughts. My thoughts about this. I like that you brought up the regulation part of like, within marriage is like the first, let's say like the minimum regulation. And then you grow through that also with your partner. And I think this is important because growing up in this movement, and I think not just this movement, but even like Christianism, Catholicism, and any other like religion, this idea or this feeling or desire for sex life is really shamed.
Yes.
And like I can speak for myself, like it brings so much pain and guilt, and then you kind of like fake it, like and you lie to yourself, and I don't think it's really beneficial spiritually when you're in that place of repression.
Absolutely.
But when there's an acceptance of where you're at, then I think you can actually grow from that place to a higher place.
Thank you.
Time.
Beautiful point. That's a beautiful point. Thank you. Yes, shame, guilt, fear are never incentives for loving God. We can't love God because we're afraid not to, or we're ashamed. So we understand we're conditioned souls. We have desires. There are means to fill these desires within the boundaries of bhakti. This is Lord Chaitanya's mercy. And Krishna accepts us with whatever shortcomings we have. Krishna is not rejecting it. And I don't know if anyone saw the life, what was it called? The Monty Python movie, In Search of the Holy Grail. And they're praying, God, please guide us to the Grail. Please guide us, please guide us. And then God appears and says, stop groveling. So it's not recommended to try to please Krishna by groveling, by being ashamed. And that's, I just want to elaborate just one more thing on this. This is the flip side of the same coin, attachment and aversion. So if we're preaching aversion to sex life, it's just another expression of attachment. We're trying to repress. And in Gita, Krishna says, what can repression accomplish? But dhira, self-controlled, means to, okay, let me be chaste until marriage. That's all. And many of our Christian friends preach the same thing. The rationale might be different, but in our case, we want to be yogis. We want to learn that we can be happy in this world without sex life. That's the purpose of the brahmachari or brahmacharini experience. We can be happy without sex life. And if we have that realization and enter grihastha life, then it is so much more of a sustainable experience. Why? Because people generally get married out of sex attraction, right? And then when the bloom is off the rose, what am I doing with this person? So when both parties are realized, then it's much more sustainable. And with that, I think we're over time. We're going to go for prasadam. That is, in fact, the higher pleasure of devotional service. Yeah. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.